Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. And first we're going to start with Kherson direction. We can say that this is another morning without any FAV-500 or FAV-1500 bombardments. The Russians, to slow down, to reduce the Ukrainian forces, are using just few methods like lancet strikes, artillery bombardment, multi-launch rocket systems, and the drones, of course. On this video, for example, we can see how the Russians managed to discover another warehouse, so a warehouse of boats that Ukrainians were using to cross Dnipro River, and as a result of artillery strike, that warehouse, small warehouse, was destroyed. Very interesting video is coming from the islands along the Dnipro River. On this video we can see how the Ukrainian soldiers, FPV drone operators, were hunting the Russians along the Dnipro River, and the strange thing is that according to the previous geolocations we received from this territory, this part of the island was under Ukrainian control, and now we see completely different picture. We see that Ukrainians are hunting the Russians, which means that probably there were some adjustments and corrections, and we will do the same. So we will update the map according to this geolocation. Now we are moving to Krynky. We have few interesting updates, and first one is that the Russians published the video of their clearing operation along the bank of the river in this direction. So as you can see, according to these geolocations, the Russians were clearing positions very far from the main Ukrainian foothold, and there might be a few, let's say, not solutions, few explanation of that. First one is that as a result of complete absence of FAV-100, 5000 and FAV-500 use, the Ukrainians now currently have possibilities to send more forces and to concentrate bigger army on the Russian bank of the river. So probably during the previous days after the Russians started bombing this territory, the Ukrainians made few attempts to increase and return their positions along the bank of the river, and as a result of one of those attacks they managed to do this. And after that the Russians launched their own clearing operation, trying to force the Ukrainians to step back. So this is the current situation. Once again, without FAV-500 and FAV-1500, there are very high chances that the Ukrainians will renew their, let's say, accumulation operation, and they will try to collect the critical mass, and they will continue sending more and more forces on this bank of the river, because the Russians don't have possibilities to have hold positions along this area, because there is like a forest in front of them, and they may have like losses as a result of FPV drone strikes. For the Russians, it's better to keep their forces as far as possible from the main clashes. It reduced the level of their losses. Now we are moving to the southwestern part of Krynky. On this video, for example, we can see how the Ukrainian FPV drone was hunting the Russian soldiers and was trying to find the Russian positions in this part of Krynky, which confirms some, let's say, Russian progress, at least on this direction. So we will adjust the map based on this video. Now we are moving to Zaporizhzhia direction. We have a lot of interesting updates from Bradley Square. On this video we can see another geolocated confirmation of Russian progress on this direction. On these scenes we can see how the Russian tank was attacking the Ukrainian forces somewhere in the vicinity of Robotyne, but as a result of anti-tank missile strike, the Russian tank was damaged and destroyed. The crew managed to evacuate. At least one driver left the tank, and this is the situation in this area. Once again, as we discussed, the Russians are trying to cut the Robotyne from the main supply road that goes from Novomykhailivka to Robotyne along 204-08 road, and the main purpose for the Russians for the next few weeks is to establish control over these three lines. If they can do this, then the ground operation inside of Robotyne is going to start. Now we are moving to the south Donetsk direction. We have interesting updates, mainly some text messages. One Russian soldier from the ground published his own analysis about the situation in this area, and he's describing the following. Currently, Novomykhailivka is encircled with a network of trenches and strongholds, and there are few very powerful areas that are under Ukrainian control. The first fortification area is located on the north of Rabotina, and as you can see, according to the map, according to this polygon, this stronghold is under complete Ukrainian control. The second stronghold that protects Novomykhailivka from the north is located a little bit to the northwest from the first geolocated area, and this is the second Ukrainian stronghold that protects Novomykhailivka from Russian attack from Marinka on the line Marinka-Novomykhailivka. And the final stronghold is located in the village by the name of Pobeda. So this is the fortification belt of the Ukrainian forces from the north. And we during the previous days, during the previous weeks, since the 17th of December, we got a lot of geolocations showing the Russian attempts to attack exactly between the strongholds. For example, during the previous night, we got another video, this one, how the Russian tank drivers were trying to attack the Ukrainian positions between the strongholds. So the Russians, according to their tactics, are trying to use the gap between this stronghold and this stronghold and to attack between these two areas. This will allow the Russians, first of all, to split this territory in two parts, to establish a fire control over the supply road that goes from Konstantinovka to Pobeda, this road. And the second main purpose of this attack between the strongholds is the Russian attempt to bypass this powerful fortification from the west. So this is like the Russian plans for the next maybe days or weeks, somehow to penetrate this defense belt and to, let's say, encircle two positions, let's say this stronghold in Pobeda and this stronghold, let's say, from behind. When talking about the southern part of Novomykhailivka, there is another powerful stronghold that located on the southwest of Novomykhailivka, and this is the second area that is under complete Ukrainian control. This area, the main purpose of this stronghold is not to allow the Russians to continue advancing their offensive operation further to Konstantinovka, and not to allow the Russians, let's say, to attack Novomykhailivka from behind. So that's why the Russians don't have a lot of options, a lot of possibilities. They can try to attack Novomykhailivka, let's say, in front, but there are very powerful fortifications and trenches around the village, so it's also not a very easy job to do. So for now, they have just one plan that the Russians are trying to implement, is to penetrate between these two fortifications. Now we are moving further to the north in direction of Marinka. Some sources, not some sources, but very reliable sources, continue updating the map, showing the further Russian progress towards Kurakhova and Grigorovka. For example, on this, according to this post, Syriac has already updated his map, showing this territory under complete Ukrainian control. Yet we haven't received even a single geolocated confirmation of that, but so we need to wait, as for me. When talking about the northern flank of Marinka, there are also few very powerful strongholds that lays in front of the Russians. This is the first fortification area, and the second fortification area is located here. So if the Russians wants to continue, let's say, attack in direction of Krasnogorovka or in direction of Georgiivka, first of all, the Russians need to handle with these two fortificated positions. This is the first one, and this is the second one. If they can capture these two strongholds, obviously they will solve all their problems and they will achieve complete superiority, at least on this direction. When talking about Avdiivka, we have just few geolocations that confirms the Russian positions. We have the FPV drones and artillery bombardments of Russian positions in Opotne, which confirms complete control over this village. We have few geolocations of FPV drone strikes against the Russian positions in Stepova. If you remember, just yesterday we got almost from the same area Russian attack, a little bit like 200 meters to the east, the Ukrainian FPV drone strikes, which confirms that the main idea that Stepova currently is in the gray zone, or at least under Ukrainian control. On the southern part, we have the video after, let's say, a very long operational pause that took place probably for 2 weeks. The Russians renewed their offensive operation and started storming their Ukrainian positions in the southern part of Avdiivka. On this footage, we can see, on this scenes, we can see the Russian armored vehicle, super armored vehicle Terminator, who was trying to storm the Ukrainian positions. The Ukrainians were trying to hit this machine with FPV drones, but as a result of at least 2 FPV drone strikes, the Ukrainians haven't managed to deal even a single damage to this armored support machine. Also, the Russians were using T-80 to attack, but when talking about T-80, one of the Russian tank was damaged somewhere below the bridge. So this is situation. As I understand, within the next days or even hours, we're going to receive more updates about more Russian advances from the south in direction of this central part of Avdiivka. Now we're moving further to Bakhmut, Artyomov's direction. We have some updates between Bogdanovka, Ivanovska and Khromovo. According to the Syriac map, he has updated his map, showing that as a result of Russian offensive operation, the Russians managed to establish complete control over the cemetery in this area. For now, we're not going to adjust the map, but probably we're going to move a little bit Ukrainian positions in Popovo Forest. So just to create a bigger gray zone without geolocations, we will not adjust the colored part of the map. Also, we see a certain focus of the Russian forces along the railways with FPV drones, with artillery bombardments. So I expect that due to this focus, probably the Russians will try to attack or counterattack the Ukrainian positions along the railways, trying to force the Ukrainians to step back and to start another offensive operation on the southern flank of Klishchiivka. And now we are moving to Siversk direction. We also have very interesting geolocations. After probably of a very long pause on this area, the Russians start bombing and attacking Verkhnekamyanskaya, the city that located on the east of Siversk and on the west of Lysychansk agglomeration. On these scenes, we can see how the Russians were bombing the western part of Verkhnekamyanskaya, the area that Ukrainians used mainly for supplying and supporting their forces. The area of main logistic and supply roads. So also this is a very big, there are very high chances due to this video that probably the Russians very soon will make another attempt to attack Verkhnekamyanskaya from many directions, trying to penetrate the Ukrainians and to forcing them to step back. So this is the situation in Ukraine, and that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.